On August 3, the Beijing Municipal Bureau of Economy and Information Technology released the Beijing Action Plan for Promoting the Innovation and Development of the Digital Human Industry, 2022 to 2025. The action plan pointed out that by 2025, the scale of Beijing's digital human industry will exceed 50 billion yuan, and a technology system, business model and governance mechanism, with the characteristics of Internet 3.0, will be initially formed. And it will become the innovation highland of the national digital human industry. The digital human is an important element in the metaverse world. According to the 2022 Virtual Digital Human Comprehensive Evaluation Index report released by the New Media Research Center, School of Journalism and Communication, Tsinghua University on August 16, with the development of virtual engine technology, the functional orientation of virtual digital human will gradually expand. From universal it penetrates into personalization, and will develop a new story core, which will eventually become the way users interact in the metaverse era. Recently, Shenyang, a professor at Tsinghua University and director of the Metaverse Culture Laboratory, said in an exclusive interview with Liang Xin that three-dimensional spacetime is an undoubted element of the metaverse. The interactive interface in the metaverse can no longer rely on words, but must return to the communication between people, and the virtual digital human assumes the main role of the virtual and real symbiosis world of the metaverse. In the interview, Professor Shenyang also talked about some chaos in the current development of the virtual digital human industry. For example, some projects have fallen into the misunderstanding of like and beautiful, but the core logic of virtual digital human is artificial intelligence. The virtual digital human is the main body of the metaverse. Liang Xin, the concept of the metaverse will start to heat up rapidly from the second half of 2021, but there is still a problem of bubble hype, and it is difficult to have a real implementation. In the past few years, what breakthroughs have been made in the research and development and commercial use of metaverse, and what are the development bottlenecks? Shenyang, as early as 2012, Google launched the augmented reality Google Glass, but after 2016, after experiencing a virtual reality bubble, these attempts to face the C-end market failed at that time, and were finally forced to turn to B-end market. At present, the industrial metaverse for the B-end is relatively mature, and the enthusiasm for R&D and use is relatively high, but the popularization of the C-end metaverse will take a certain amount of time. We don't think the current metaverse will have a bubble as big as it was 6 years ago. First of all, the current computing power has improved a lot compared to 2016. Secondly, since last year, the related hardware devices of the metaverse have been developing at an accelerated rate, and the entire industry has invested a lot more resources in hardware than before. At present, the sales volume of Oculus Quest 2, the meta-virtual reality headset in foreign countries, has exceeded 10 million units, which can already support a content ecosystem. From this year to next year, a new generation of VR from various manufacturers will be launched one after another. In terms of R, some products have been able to achieve a weight of 76 grams, which is much lighter than the previous generation. In general, although we can't expect a very good and smooth experience with VR/R devices right away, the overall technological progress is very solid compared to 6 years ago. One of our observations is that, similar to the shape of the smartphone when the iPhone was finalized, when the shape of the metaverse equipment can be clarified, the metaverse can basically be clarified. At present, the bottleneck of metaverse development may be the lack of high-resolution content, as well as rigid and high-frequency applications like WeChat that users need to use every day. With the gradual accumulation of metaverse traffic, I believe this aspect will appear in the future. Explosive. Liang Xin, what role does the virtual digital person play in the metaverse? What is its value to the metaverse? Shenyang, three-dimensional spacetime is an undoubted element of the metaverse. This is a 100% certain development direction. Because it is a three-dimensional space-time and world, virtual digital humans are very important in the metaverse. The interactive interface in the metaverse can no longer rely on words, and must return to the communication between people, and the virtual digital human assumes the main body of the virtual and real symbiosis world of the metaverse. It can be understood that human is the subject in the real universe, and the virtual digital human is the subject in the metaverse. Virtual digital people will also bring a huge derivative industry chain, such as virtual clothing, virtual home, virtual real estate. In this year's college entrance examination enrollment, the real estate and architecture majors encountered difficulties in enrollment, but the architecture in the metaverse has just begun, and there is great room for development. Therefore, a series of industries can be derived from the metaverse, which is a particularly great value for virtual digital humans. The use of the virtual digital human itself is also very extensive, and can be used as virtual idols, professional services, and life companions. Liang, why do human beings need to create a virtual digital person outside the physical world? Shenyang, in the future, virtual digitizers and physical robots can share appearance, common interaction, and symbiosis in cognition. There are three levels of connection between the real human physical world and the virtual metaverse world. The first layer is the digital twin, which is an exact replica of the real world. The second layer is to build a virtual world beyond reality on the twin, to create content based on imagination, to enrich human life experience. For example, the highest mountain in the real world, Mount Everest, is 8,848 meters above sea level, but the metaverse can build a 20,000-meter mountain, so humans can use virtual digital humans to get a 20,000-meter mountain climbing experience in the virtual world. The third layer is that the virtual world beyond reality can have a symbiotic relationship with the real world, which in turn affects the real world. Taking a scenic spot as an example, it takes hundreds of millions of dollars to build a tourist attraction, but before the construction, we don't know what kind of scenery tourists really like, and Metaverse can first test the preferences of virtual tourists in the scenic spots in the virtual world. Then build it in the real world. Cautious exploration of metaverse economies and digital identities. Liang, in some public events, you have begun to try to replace you with a virtual digital person. Can you talk about your experience? Shenyang, in essence, the virtual digital human, is helping humans to complete some digital labor in the virtual world. My earliest attempt was in September 2021, when a virtual digital human completed a speech at the World VR Industry Conference in my place. At present, my virtual digital human is mainly used in speeches and teaching activities. For example, sometimes the speech time conflicts, and the virtual human will be used instead of my real person. My few feelings are, first, I hope that the virtual digital human can be more handsome in the future, because in the metaverse, everyone is still more willing to choose an image that can express themselves, either more handsome or more characteristic. Second, the use of virtual human is divided into two situations. One is that I want to have a sense of experience in the digital world, so I will usually operate it by myself. The other is an activity that only has a sense of ritual, and does not require a sense of experience, then virtual people will be avatars instead of attending the event in order to improve efficiency. The third experience is that the relationship between the real body, the anonymous avatar, and the real name avatar is very interesting. One day I had a speech, but I was on the high-speed train, so I dubbed it in advance so that my real name avatar would speak. But I was worried that the avatar of the real name avatar would talk nonsense in the speech, so I used my real body to control the anonymous avatar to observe the performance of the real name avatar. It is a very interesting and meaningful attempt to change from the original first perspective to the third perspective to observe the self. Liang, virtual idols like Hatsune Miku were born in 2007. What is the difference between the current virtual digital people? What are the key elements that constitute the virtual digital human in the metaverse? Shenyang, this generation of virtual digital humans has three core contents: the facial expression system, the skeletal behavior system, and the soul cognition system. All three systems are largely based on artificial intelligence and will be driven in real time in the future. And more than a decade ago there was no particularly strong concept of artificial intelligence, which is a clear difference. The virtual digital human should not only be as good-looking as possible, but also be able to communicate and interact with people. Because of the development of artificial intelligence, virtual digital people can move from virtual idols to expert services and life companionship. Secondly, the main root of virtual digital human is based on 3D modeling, reducing cost and shortening the generation time as much as possible. Liangzine, how to understand the relationship between the two concepts of virtual digital and digital identity. What can be explored about the digital identity of virtual digital people? Shenyang, how to apply digital identity in China still needs some discussion. How to combine digital identity with blockchain, and how to embed it into the internet. This is a question that everyone needs to think about next. The existing mobile internet is already very introverted and mature, and the next step should be to try to explore Web 3.0. Web 3.0 will constitute the economic system of the metaverse, resulting in digital identities. Digital identity is supported by blockchain technology, allowing users to manage all digital assets and digital content through a unique digital identity. In the current mobile internet, users' digital identities are fragmented and cannot be connected to various platforms. In the future, there should be digital identities that can be connected to various platforms in the metaverse, allowing users to control their digital assets and jump freely in different metaverse spaces. It is very important for users to control their digital assets in the metaverse, but the exploration of the metaverse economic system and digital identity needs to be cautious, not only to prevent and control risks, but also to ensure safety. The core of virtual digital human is can. Liangzine, according to your observations, what chaos exists in the current R&D or commercial implementation of the virtual digital human industry? Shenyang, at present, the biggest problem in the virtual digital human industry is that the cost is too high, and the quotations are relatively chaotic. The second problem existing in the virtual digital human industry is that some projects fall into the misunderstanding of like. In fact, the virtual human is not a question of like and beautiful, but a question of can. Can is achieved by artificial intelligence. At this stage, everyone may pay more attention to appearance, but the core logic of virtual digital human is artificial intelligence. There are also issues of portrait rights and content security for virtual digital people. The Administrative Regulations on Deep Synthesis of Internet Information Services, draft for comment, issued by the Cyberspace Administration of the People's Republic of China has a series of detailed regulations on generation and synthesis represented by deep learning and virtual reality. Liangzine, in which application scenarios do you predict that virtual digital humans will be the first to achieve large-scale implementation? What breakthroughs will the application of virtual digital humans bring to business models? Shenyang, the first is to do Yunbendi in the online world, and there are already some virtual human companies doing this. The second is to socialize and play in the metaverse. The third is to make augmented reality for video shooting. The fourth is to make the people around you into it. Is of great significance to promote the communication and interaction of relatives and friends and the harmonious relationship between families. The application of virtual digital human in business has shortened the realization path of the business model. It used to be that merchants need to go through complex processes such as text and video to recommend a product. Now, a virtual person recommends the product. The virtual digital human has changed people's view of time, space and interpersonal relationships, and will have a significant impact on commodity marketing.